Some fans say Rambo will be a prequel, some say the new Rambo movie will be about new blood. There are some who think Rambo 6 won't be a movie but a TV show, and there are even those who claim that Rambo imagined all 4 movies. In other words, they didn't happen. So let's start with the most controversial of all the theories.
The world of death. I've watched people I've loved die.
On Reddit, there was a user by the name of CML Minton created a post about the Rambo sequels and how they never happened. According to the Redditor, they were nothing but dying dreams. Why would anyone suggest this? Well, some of the fans out there have posited that all the Rambo movies that were made after the first one are just flashbacks and images. They're the thoughts that Rambo is having on his deathbed after being shot by Troutman in the last scene of Rambo First Blood. As you may already know, Rambo dies in the book. When they were making Rambo First Blood, they wanted Sylvester Stallone's character to follow the same fate as the one in the book, but the Hollywood actor thought this would only send the wrong message to the readers. Instead, he proposed that they do a scene where Rambo breaks the silence and starts talking. He begins telling his story and starts listing all of the horrors he was exposed to during the Vietnam War.
Some fast with a bullet. Some not enough left to bury.
And because of this alternate ending, the movie became such a hit with audiences that they made 4 more movies in a span of 35 years. Now they're looking to make a 6th one. However, if this theory is correct, whatever they represent on the screen this time, it'll be just another of Rambo's horrid nightmares. But what prompted the Redditor to write such a preposterous theory? Well, if you go back to the 2008 Rambo movie, you will smash that like button just like you should if you haven't already. But no, in all seriousness, you'll realize that there's a very brief 60-second scene in which Rambo has flashbacks in a nightmarish state. Because the flashbacks are black and white, and because they happen so fast, many fans never noticed the flashback of the death scene.
We need to get upriver.
Where?
Into Burma.
Burma's a war zone.
The exact scene they shot for the first movie in which Rambo dies. Yep, that scene, it never made it in the final cut. Nor was it ever referenced in the movies since then. But lo and behold, you have Rambo having nightmarish flashbacks of this life-altering moment. The only possible explanation would be that Rambo died in the first movie and all the other movies they made since then are just in his head. Before dying, the Vietnam veteran is imagining how his life would have been different had survived. So in the second movie, when he goes back to Vietnam to save a few of his soldiers, that's just Rambo's last attempt to save his friends who died during the war. After all, he talked about how one of his best friends got his legs blown off on the battlefield and died in his arms.
What happened?
Well, no one knows.
So in a way, this is just PTSD manifesting itself as his desperate attempt to reunite with his friend. The third movie has some obvious and glaring indications that support this theory, and so whatever they decide to do with the 6th movie, it would be just another of Rambo's fantasies before passing away. Some fans say that it's possible that they'll show us Rambo's death scene from the first movie at the end of the 6th Rambo movie, if and when they make it. This would tie the entire franchise nicely, but there's always a but, isn't there? But the only fan theory that could make this irrelevant is the one about the studio heads not wanting to end the franchise. This is not so much of a theory as it is a wish by studio heads and producers for the Rambo franchise. They talked to Sylvester Stallone and clearly stated that they wanted to make a movie where Rambo would train his son or some young actor. The movie would be similar to Creed, where Rocky trains a new athlete to become a boxing champion. However, instead of a boxing champion, this one would become another killing machine.
All these years I've kept my secrets. But the time has come to face my past.
This would give us a great coming-of-age story, something that Stallone himself wanted to portray in the upcoming movie. If they play their cards right and cast the right people for the right roles, then the Rambo 6 could prove more successful than the original. And since we're on the subject of new blood, did you know that in 2013, Stallone, Fox Entertainment 1, and Millennium Films were talking about turning Rambo 6 into a TV show? In 2015, news and online media outlets started talking about the finalized Rambo New Blood. The show was centered around J.R. Rambo's mysterious and rarely mentioned son. Becoming involved with TV posed its own challenges, but the show was supposed to center around Rambo's son, who was an ex-Navy SEAL. Rambo would have been training him to become just like him so J.R. could exact revenge on those who wronged him. Stallone was supposed to smash that subscribe button just like you should if you haven't already. But no, seriously now, he was supposed to be the executive producer of the show along with Stuart Stallone and Avi Lerner. They needed to find a young actor that would play the role of Rambo's son, and strangely enough, they didn't cast Stallone in the show.
And if it comes looking for me, they will welcome death.
Whether it was because he didn't want to get involved with the TV or because he was feeling too old for the show, we don't know. What we do know is that the production companies offered him the role first. He declined it, so they were forced to look for someone else to portray old Rambo. And they explicitly stated that they would immediately hand over the role of Rambo to Stallone as soon as he said that he wanted the role. E1 and Millennium Films would have had international distribution rights, and the entire project would have been overseen by Cary Stein, the executive vice president of E1. There was an official IMDb page created specifically for this TV show, but they haven't added anything to it since. We haven't heard from either Sylvester Stallone or Fox about the possibility of a TV show, but Stallone did openly discuss his desire to make a prequel of the Rambo franchise.
There's nothing they can do to stop it.
And one of the biggest theories about the plot of Rambo 6 has been created by Stallone himself. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Stallone talked about his career, his life, and how it feels to grow old. He even talked about the time he declined $34 million, but that's not important to us. The important thing from the interview came near the end. That's when the interviewer asked Stallone precisely about all of these fan theories that have been surfacing online. "I think it's gonna happen," said Stallone reassuringly. "I wanted to do it like a Ken Burns documentary on Vietnam, where you drop young Rambo in there, and he's this outgoing guy, a football captain, and then you see why he becomes Rambo. But what they want to do is a modern-day story where I pass a torch. That's getting close."
No. The death is coming. What you made up.
This is probably the primary reason they didn't make Rambo New Blood. While Stallone wanted to make the franchise successful and follow the example of the first Rambo movie, which was the best of the 5, according to Rotten Tomatoes, the producers and studio heads wanted to prolong the franchise by introducing a new character. Currently, there's a screenwriting theory that suggests Rambo never rode off into the sunset on horseback because he was too old and wounded. He never made it off the porch. Instead, the theory suggests that he was imagining riding a horse. In reality, the actor died on the porch after defeating the last of the cartel members. Even Stallone was on the fence about this scene. He didn't know how the audience would receive it, so he was a little worried. So it's very possible that Rambo Last Blood was the last we could have seen of Rambo, so the only possible movie they can make right now would be the prequel that Stallone has been clawing to make for almost a decade now. Check out these videos next.
War is in your blood. When you're pushed,